Testing, testing. Hi, Circle Sisters. This is Julia. It's March 2nd, 2026. I'm going to read from the 13 Original Clan Mothers. The March story weighs the truth. We are in the third moon cycle. The protectress of the meek weighs the truth for all to see. Divine law seeking balance, setting the spirit free. And here, amid the chaos of earthly trials, she stands, ready to issue justice, compassion in her hands. She answers when deception shows the destructive face of human greed and hatred, dividing every creed and race. Keeper of the great mysteries' laws, whose guiding ways we seek, may we accept the oneness of the truths we hear you speak. Weighs the Truth is the clan mother of the third moon cycle, who teaches divine law. She is the fair judge of human rights, the keeper of equality, and the guardian of justice. She does not judge our actions by bestowing punishment, but rather teaches us the principles of divine law. The actions we take are based on our decisions. If we decide to hurt another consciously, we have also made the decision unconsciously to receive the lessons connected to harming another. Weighs the Truth teaches us that we are the ones who, in finding and accepting the truth of our actions, must decide what we will learn in order to make amends for following the crooked trail. The keeper of justice sees all sides of every situation with clarity and cannot be fooled by half-truths or lies. As the guardian of the underdog, she is not swayed by personal opinions, and she obliterates the illusion of class distinction, hierarchy, wealth, supposed power, or popularity. She demands that justice and equality be applied to every life form in creation. By observing the obvious in every situation, this clan mother levels the ideas of self-importance that keep human egos out of balance. She instructs us by showing us her own humility, allowing us to see our own arrogance. Weighs the Truth teaches us that taking on additional responsibilities is important in developing our self-determination. This clan mother understands the idea of weighing all sides of any situation in order to determine the truth. Self-determination can be seen as our ability to respond to all sides of life and to all our talents and accepts the truths found even if we do not like what we have discovered. The destroyer of deception role in our lives shows us that when we are self-determined, we have accepted the truth of what gives us joy and are not confused or influenced by what others want us to be. We can then respond to our heart's greatest desire and find happiness through the determination found in the self-sense of well-being. This clan mother's moon cycle falls in March and is connected to the color brown. The rich soil of the Earth Mother reflects this color and represents the Earth Mother's connection to divine law. The cycle of truth that corresponds to the third moon is accepting the truth. Weighs the Truth teaches us to accept the truth inside us as well as accepting the truth of the experiences we encounter in life. If we look at ourselves with a cold eye, accepting what we find, the truth of our strengths and our weaknesses can destroy the illusions that limit our potential. Weighs the Truth teaches us that we do not need to focus on what is weak or wrong with us, but rather on what is strong and right with us. Divine law shows us that cause and effect do rule our universe of polarity. If we feed the negative by being critical, the shadow side of our nature is fed. When we praise right action and work to develop the skills of our talents, our rendas or spiritual essences expand. Bearer of the Burden Basket begins on page 71. Weighs the Truth sat in her wigwam, staring at the earthen walls made of mud and leaves. The supporting branches of her circular lodge were made of birch. Here and there, a stray piece of white bark caught the reflection of Grandmother Moon's full face as the light flickered or filtered through the smoke hole in the center of the wigwam's domed roof. On this warm night, she had no need for a fire and was content to sit in Taiwa, the stillness. It was comforting to know that she could call on Birch's medicine of discovering truth. Here in the stillness of her seeking heart, Snowy Owl's spirit was with her on this night, while she had to make a decision regarding justice. One of the ghostly white pieces of birch bark seemed to reflect Owl's image across the circular space of her hut. Ways the Truth was comforted by Snowy Owl's medicine of eliminating lies and deception. Owl was a wisdom keeper. His spirit had accompanied her since the early days of her earth walk, earning her trust and friendship through the trials, challenges, and tribulations that they shared. I'm going to turn this so that my medicine shield shows, because there is Snowy Owl right there. On this summer sleep during the full moon, Ways the Truth was confronted with a situation that would test all of her abilities in order for justice to be found. Two women from the tribe had come to Ways the Truth, 5 suns past, to ask for a judgment. Running Water had accused Blue Goose, Running Water, Blue Goose, of taking more than her share of the communal food stores. Blue Goose had accused Running Water of being nosy, passing rumors, and not keeping her eye and ears out of the sacred space of others. Ways the Truth had passed the 4 suns and sleeps required for her to smoke the situation. On the rising of Grandfather Sun, the clan mother would issue her decision in front of the tribal council. To see beyond the smoke-filled illusions of this difficult situation, Ways the Truth had approached the east direction on the dawning of the first sun of her decision-making process. She had offered her pipe to Grandfather Sun and had asked for clarity and spiritual enlightenment. And then she had returned her thanks for the gift of clear seeing and feeling that the east wind would send her, doing so before the actual message arrived, thereby making the space for that message in her heart. Next, she had loaded her pipe and sat entire with the stillness, to smoke the spirits of each relation that had been asked to come into the tobacco. With each puff, she felt the medicine and strengths of the spirits of the east come into her body. The smoke from the pipe wafted toward the Sky Nation, creating a stir in the east wind, bringing the clarity she sought. The east wind reminded her that when clarity was sought with unconditional love, the light of Grandfather's Sun would illuminate the seeker's ability to embrace the expansive view without preconceptions. When the purple sage blossom blanket of the night sky settled itself across the Sky Nation on that first sleep, Ways the Truth was given further illumination as she watched the starry medicine bowl. Later, during her sleep time, her dreams were filled with more visions and enlightening facts regarding Blue Goose and Running Water. During the dawning of the next sun, she repeated her ritual, inviting the spirits of the south to show her what she could trust about the situation and the women involved. That evening again, she watched the night sky for portents and signs. Her dreams spoke to her of the lessons of innocence and humility that needed to be learned in this matter. When dawn broke on the 3rd sun, Ways the Truth took her pipe to the ridge of the sacred mountain, repeating her spirit calling ceremony. This time she called to the west wind, asking for the strength to go within and seek the answers that would bring a fuller understanding of the omens she had seen and the messages she had received. The west wind was asked to show Ways the Truth how her decisions would affect the future of the 2 women, their tribe, and the unborn generation yet to come. In the evening that followed, Ways the Truth was again given the answers she sought during her observance of the night sky and her sleep-time dreams. The 4th dawn brought the north wind's spirit calling ceremony, and Ways the Truth stood on the edge of the ridge of the sacred mountain asking for wisdom. The gratitude she felt for the answers already received was sent to the great mystery as she added her thanks for the wisdom yet to come. Ways the Truth asked for healing to come to all concerned, and that the goodness of divine law found in this lesson would enrich the lives of all observers. And then she gave thanks for the opportunity that this situation had afforded her to further develop her own skills of accepting truth in herself and in others. Ways the Truth sat in her wigwam, reflecting on the sign she had found in the starry medicine bowl of the night sky. This evening, and all the messages of the past 4 suns and sleeps, she called on the spirit of Snowy Owl, who guarded the above direction of her sacred space, and asked for his spirit to manifest in the lodge. And then she called upon Weasel, who guarded the below direction of her sacred space. And last she called upon Crow, the guardian of divine law, who was the protector of the within direction in her heart. In the stillness with the night vision she found by sitting in darkness with her eyes wide open, she waited, and she saw a spirit come forth to perch on the branch that stuck out from the mud walls. Several branches were built into the wigwam's earthen walls, creating hooks for hanging household items, leggings, pouches of dried food, and medicine bundles. Owl picked an empty branch, hooted a greeting, and then waited for the other totem spirits to arrive. Weasel took his place on top of the stump that the clan mother used as a table and silently greeted her with a nod. Crow's spirit entered the smoke hole at the top of the wigwam, perching on a branch across the lodge from Snowy Owl. Crow cawed a greeting, signaling that the 4 friends were all present and ready to begin their powwow. Ways the Truth was grateful for the totem spirits, who had come to assist her in making her final decision regarding running water and blue goose. She showed her totems the respect she held for their wisdom by offering each one her outstretched palms, signaling through sign language that she was grateful and willing to receive their counsel. Crow began by reminding all present that divine law was the balance found in every natural part of the great mysteries creation and not in the laws made by mankind. Together, these 4 friends would have to find the answers that would preserve the justice of divine law, as well as the fairness that would bring balance to the lives of all concerned. Crow asked Weasel to ferret out the truth. Since he was a detective of the creature kingdom, Weasel could use his medicine of guile, stealth, ingenuity, and observing the obvious to bring the truth to light. Crow asked Owl to use his medicine of wisdom, discernment, and destroying deception to aid the group in seeing the whole truth. Owl's natural call in the wild was always asking, "Whoo! Whoo!" But he invariably discovered the answers to where, when, how, why, and what as well. Snowy Owl was able to find answers to all those questions because he could easily spot the difference among a truth, a half-truth, and a lie. Time passed as the 4 friends considered the puzzling question of how justice would best be served. Ways the Truth's totem spirit stole into the darkness when all of the facts had been reviewed, allowing her to once again sit in the stillness. Sitting in the stillness. She then positioned her body like the great lizard called crocodile in order to tap his medicine of digesting and assimilating the truth. And like the great lizard of the rivers, she took her meal of thoughts below the waters of her personal feelings and ingested each morsel of truth in order to integrate all she had learned. As the clan mother rested on her belly in her sleeping robes, she sent her spiritual umbilical cord from her navel deep into the earth. Mother's body. The fibers of light that comprised the umbilical cord sent streams of warmth into her body from deep within the earth while she dreamed of various solutions. In her dreams, she rode the back of the black and white striped pony called Zebra. Zebra reminded her of his medicine that nothing was final or absolute in the natural world. Nothing was just light or dark, black or white. As she rode through the dream, she passed through plains of windswept golden grasses and mushroom-shaped trees whose branches formed domed silhouettes against the horizon. Faster and faster she rode through the dreamscape until the stripes on Zebra's body blurred into a mass of radiant light, melding with her own hair, which blew freely in the wind, and her body, which had become a living extension of the galloping form of her four-legged companion. Suddenly, the dreamscape changed, and the two found themselves in another setting. Zebra came to a halt in front of a fern-filled grotto, where clean, pure water tumbled over a limestone shelf into a clear pool below. Waste the Truth dismounted, listening to the waterfall. The grotto was sprinkled with tiny blue flowers and orange Indian paintbrush. She noticed something moving behind the stream of water. A raccoon emerged, eyes sparkling inside of her black bandit's mask, smiling as if she had expected the clan mother's arrival. Hello, Mother. It has been a long time since we have looked into each other's eyes. I can see that you have fared well, Raccoon said. Ways the Truth felt the warmth of Raccoon's greeting deep inside her belly as she moved forward to greet her old friend. My heart is full, little bandit, replied the clan mother. It is good to look into your eyes again. What words of wisdom do you have for me now? Well, Mother, I am still the protector of the underdog, the weak, frail, and elderly. My medicine becomes stronger every day, while greed and inequality continue to capture the hearts of the human tribe. I have come to tell you that when you make your decisions with the rising of Grandfather's son, you may want to consider the rights of those who were depending upon the communal food stores, but were not taking their share in order to leave more for the others. These members of your tribe have been planting and gathering and storing as much as the others, but in their meekness and humility, they have chosen to provide for others in need by taking less than their own share. Raccoon had revealed the missing piece to the confrontation between Blue Goose and Running Water. The rights of those who were inadvertently affected by the actions of both women would have to be considered. In her dream, Ways the Truth could see Zebra snorting and pawing the ground, catching her attention. Zebra whinnied and then spoke up. Nothing is ever black and white, is it, Mother? The dream faded, causing Ways the Truth to move her body, disengaging herself from the dreamscape, returning her thoughts to the warmth in her belly that was being fed to her by the Earth Mother. The umbilical cord of light fibers blended all the feelings she had encountered during the 4 preceding suns and sleeps, with the wisdom gathered from her spirit totems, as well as the reminders collected in her dream. Together, the mass of feelings, impressions, facts, and wisdom whirled inside of the clan mother's belly, giving her a great deal to digest before the rising of Grandfather's son. Ways the Truth reviewed Running Water's accusation in detail. Running Water had said that Blue Goose had taken more than her share of the food that had been planted, tended, gathered, and stored by all members of the tribe. If Blue Goose had hoarded more food for her family than was her rightful share, the clan mother was concerned with the deeper issue of why Blue Goose would have done such a thing. Weasel had shown Ways the Truth the pain that Blue Goose held in her heart, having lost her child to starvation 2 winters before. Owl had seen through the deception that Blue Goose had tried to employ when she accused Running Water of being nosy in an effort to hide her fear of being caught and of losing another child to starvation. Blue Goose had been wounded and had not been able to heal the loss of her child because she blamed herself for not having gathered enough food for her family. Running Water was another matter. True to her name, her laughter was like the melodies made by running streams and brooks. But her weakness was in running to tell on others, no matter how small the assumed offense. It was true that Running Water did not keep her own counsel or her eyes and ears to herself. Sacred space was maintained in tribal living conditions by observing a certain amount of politeness. This rule for happy living was a good one, that required every member of the tribe to avert their eyes when the personal lives of others could be viewed. Anything that was inadvertently overheard in passing was considered privileged information, not to be repeated out of respect for the sacred space of another. Running Water was certainly a busybody in most instances, and out of her need to be noticed and acknowledged, had created several problems in the past. Her behavior stemmed from never having been recognized as a child, living among a family of many children, with parents too busy trying to provide for the physical necessities to nurture the emotional needs of the youngsters. During her childhood, Running Water had developed a tattletale personality, finding that she could get attention if she behaved herself and used a self-righteous attitude to point out the offenses of others. But the kind of attention Running Water received was avoidance and mistrust. In her own confusion about whether or not she was getting noticed, Running Water had effectively cut herself off from true friendships. Blue Goose was acting from old pain and fear, and Running Water was acting from woundedness and a need to be loved or recognized. Each woman sat on one side of the great smoking mirror, projecting what each supposed was the truth into the smoke-filled illusion that could confound the most astute observer. Ways the Truth took the nurturance she needed from the spiritual umbilical cord she had sent from her navel into the Earth Mother's body. And let go of the problem, sleeping until dawn. Just before midday, Ways the Truth changed her buckskins and donned her regalia. The doe skin of her regalia had been tanned and then worked with charcoal and tallow, producing the blackened hides from which she had fashioned the dress, leggings, and moccasins. The clan mother reached behind the mud-fashioned shelf in her wigwam and brought forth a special bundle. Carefully, she unwrapped the crow mask that she had carved so long ago and looked into its face. Each black feather of the crow mask had been affixed with glue that Ways the Truth had made from the hooves of buffalo. Crow. Slivered and boiled in water. She had spent 2 moons in the creative process and was pleased with the results, even now, so many winters later. The bill on the mask was yellow, symbolizing that divine law was dispensed with unconditional love, like the yellow of grandfather's son. The eyes on the mask were red, representing the faith held by the keeper of divine law, who knew that accepting the truth was an act of humility. When grandfather's son was at the zenith of his journey across the blue sky nation, Ways the Truth sat down in full regalia in the midst of the tribal council. Running Water and Blue Goose sat in front of the clan mother, encircled by the elders, who composed the wisdom keepers of the tribe. Beyond this circle were all of the other members of the tribe, silently waiting for the proceedings to begin. The words of thanksgiving were spoken by Ways the Truth, giving gratitude for the opportunity of sharing and healing presented in the situation at hand. And then burning sweet grass was passed, so the smoke would cleanse any bitterness or negativity the group might hold against the 2 women asking for justice. Ways the Truth began by saying, I have reached a decision in this matter after the 4 sons and sleeps required by tribal law to accomplish my task in a good way. I have consulted the totem spirits, the starry medicine bowl of the night sky, the 4 winds of change, the ancestors, the 4 clan chiefs of air, earth, water, and fire, and Swenio, the great mystery. I have been fed by the earth mother and blessed by the sky father. I have seen the hearts of these 2 women and found the solution I feel is necessary to bring healing and balance back to our tribe. Blue Goose took more than her share of our food stores because she was afraid of losing another child to starvation. She carries the self-blame of a mother who felt helpless when death took her baby. Although she was driven by shame and fear, this was selfish behavior that did not consider the rights of those who worked equally hard to create the winter stores that we all depend upon. And for Blue Goose to walk the beauty way again, she must return the extra portions she took. Then she must go to the woods to gather double the amount she secretly pilfered from our tribal stores. The berries, wild tubers, nuts, and greens that she gathers are to be equally distributed to every family who lost a loved one to hunger in the last starving moon. When this task is completed, Blue Goose will spend one sun with each family sharing the story of her loss and hearing the story of their loss that each family experienced. During the next 13 moons, Blue Goose will care for different children who lost their parents to starvation. During each moon cycle, she must treat as her own each child that she tends. Running Water spoke out of turn when she tattled on Blue Goose, not respecting the natural right of every tribal member to determine for himself or herself what is correct behavior based on his or her own sacred point of view. Running Water is to accompany Blue Goose as a silent companion, assisting her in gathering and when she visits each grieving family. Running Water is not allowed to speak during the time she assists Blue Goose, nor is she ever to speak of what she heard or saw at any time in the future. For the next 13 moons, Running Water will not speak at all. She will listen. She will assist Medicine Woman and me during healing and counseling sessions, but she is forbidden to speak of anything she sees or hears at any time in the future. Both women will reappear before this council in 13 moons. Donahoe, it is decreed. The 13 moons passed quickly, and the tribal council convened again. Ways the Truth sat in her crow regalia in the center of the circle, asking Blue Goose to speak of what she had learned on her healing journey. I have learned that every member of this tribe has suffered losses, Mother. I have shared my grief and theirs equally, and I have come to realize that we work together for a reason. Unity, sharing, and caring for one another is the strength that binds us together as one. I have given away my fear of scarcity and have discovered the faith that once eluded me. I am no longer afraid of growing old alone if my children die, traveling to the spirit world. I have made peace with myself and no longer carry the blame or shame that clouded my understanding. I have extended my family beyond the boundaries of blood kin and have loved every child who needed me. Through their loss of relatives, each grieving adult and child has shared with me a common bond that was created by setting aside our sorrows, finding the joy, comfort, and understanding of each other's company. Ways the Truth thanked Blue Goose and asked Running Water to speak of the lesson she had learned during the past 13 moons. Running Water had not spoken since the last time she faced this tribal council, and her discomfort was apparent. She struggled to get a rasping word to escape her throat in vain. A few moments passed as she tried again, finally finding her voice. These 13 moons have changed my attitude, my path, my understanding, and my sense of self. I want to express my gratitude to you, Mother. Through listening to the stories of others, I have seen and heard the story of my own passage from woundedness into healing. I have learned gentleness and compassion for myself by being caring and nurturing towards others. I now understand the folly of my former need to be recognized as a worthwhile person. I felt worthless because I had never seen my own potential or talents. I had only experienced the critical voice in my head that told me I was never good enough. Because I believed I was not worthy of being loved, I harmed others by insisting they follow a path made of the same painful rules that I had imposed on myself. I learned compassion from Blue Goose and the others who shared the pain in their hearts. I learned how to move past my resentment of the judgment you pronounced 13 moons ago. I have been privileged to share in Medicine Women's healing arts and in your fairness, common sense, counseling ability, and compassionate wisdom. For these gifts and the healing of my heart, I am truly grateful. Ways the Truth's heart was filled. Trills of celebration and keening cries of victory filled the morning air, expressing the rejoicing of the tribal members. Everyone had seen the changes in the two women and had waited expectantly for this day. The beauty way had been restored to the tribe without unjust punishments or decisions that could have split them apart. The balance of divine law had been served. Each woman had accepted the truth of her actions, finding ways to support and heal the old pain that had created those crooked trails. Life was good, and the abundance found in this caring tribal family was in balance again. Ways the Truth saw that Running Water and Blue Goose had learned the value of sisterhood by coming together in diversity. To the last page. Both women had been forced by their own actions to rely on the other, to see their similarities, and to go beyond their judgments to find a common bond. And from that understanding, a friendship had sprung, making sisters of the former enemies. Running Water had discovered the first true friendship of her life, and Blue Goose had healed her fear of abandonment. Ways the Truth sent gratitude to Senio, the great mystery, for the lessons she had learned about being the bearer of the burden basket. The clan mother no longer felt burdened by her role of dispensing justice. She realized that every two-legged carries the burden of being responsible for her or his own actions. And to grow, every human being picks the lessons he or she needs to learn, adding the experiences to the burden basket he or she carries on his or her earth walk. The responsibility of accepting the truth of those lessons is left to the individual, determining whether that person feels encumbered or freed by the experiences. From that sun, Ways the Truth would always be reminded that Crow holds the caw that rides the winds to all nations. Divine law will bring life abundant to all our relations if we feed our goodness and starve the shadow that is fed by old pain. Only then will humankind accept truth, understanding that the great mystery created all two-leggeds to walk in beauty as living vessels of love. The end. Happy March to everyone. And again, thank you for listening.